we are back with the do-it-yourself project. So today we're actually gonna make a set of gymnastics rings for under $15. This is actually something that I got to practice on when I first started CrossFit because Pat had already made himself a set of rings that were in his basement at the time. So these can be awesome. You can use them for ring rows, you can use them for pull-ups. For those of you missing your muscle-ups, you could practice your muscle-up transitions, you could do dips. There are so many things that we can do with these sets of rings, and this costs under $15, and it's super simple. So Pat's gonna take you through all the steps.
All right guys, so this is actually the first piece of equipment that I ever made. And it was probably 12 years ago before I even belonged to a gym. I made a set of these rings and they lasted, until I outgrew them. And they're certainly not perfect, but if we still can't order stuff, this is one of the easiest things you can possibly make, and it's also really cheap. And all I'm gonna need for this is one 5-foot piece of rope, 2 ratchet straps, or they're really not ratchet, they're latching straps, and 1 piece of conduit. It could also be PVC pipe, but I personally like the conduit, which comes in the electrical section, better. One, just because I like the gray color better, but it's also just a little bit malleable, a little bit more malleable, meaning it's just a little bit softer and it's gonna bend a little bit easier for us. All right, so the only really construction part of this is I'm gonna measure out 2 24-inch pieces and I'm gonna cut those. And you could actually buy these pre-bought or pre-cut in the store. They sell 2-foot sections of PVC pipe. But I've got a 10-foot stick here, so I could actually make multiple out of this. And I'm just gonna mark out a 24-foot spot here and make 1 cut. And my next one at 48 inches. All right, so I'm gonna make my 2 cuts here, and I'm gonna use a circular saw because this stuff is really soft and you could cut it with about anything. If you have a handsaw, jigsaw, whatever you've got, it'll work. They'll also cut it for you at Home Depot. All you really have to do is ask, and it's a super easy thing. So you can leave with the pieces that you need. And right now, I'm just gonna make my 2 cuts. And I've got my 2 24-inch pieces.
Now that the cuts are made, we've got our 2 24-inch pieces. We're gonna go to the house, and we've had the oven preheating at 350 degrees while we've been getting the cuts and everything ready. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in the oven at 350 for just a couple minutes, make them soft, and then we'll be able to mold them into our position. All
right, so now we're in the kitchen, which is typically where Christy's at, but we're gonna be baking some construction stuff today. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I've got my rope. I've got about 6 foot of 1/4-inch nylon rope. So that means it's also not stretchy, which is something we don't want. We don't want a bunch of give when we're using our rings. So I'm gonna cut this in half. And once I've got this cut in half, I'm gonna get it soaking wet because we're actually gonna be feeding this through our rings and putting it in the oven. So it being wet, it's gonna keep it from potentially catching on fire, even though it's only gonna be in there for a few minutes. All right, so I've cut it in half. I've got it nice and wet. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feed it through here, and I'm actually gonna do 1 of these at a time. So I've got that through, and now I'm literally gonna open the oven, stick this on the rack, and leave it in there for just a few minutes. All right, so I've left those in the oven for about 10 minutes, and I put on a pair of gloves so that I can easily pick those out, because they will be hot. I'm gonna set it down, and I'm gonna pull the strings and turn it into a ring. All right, so I left these in the oven for about 10 minutes, and they're not perfect and they're not exactly rings, but that is completely usable. I've tied off my ends, it's still a little bit wet, it's cooling off, but within a couple minutes here, we'll be ready to go. Also, once I pulled these out and I was kind of getting them into the position that I wanted, I ran them under cold water, which is gonna help accelerate the cooling off process and harden them in the position that you want them. So take them out, mold your quick ring, then right under some hot water, cold water. So now that our rings are cool, we get to hang them. So what we have is we have 2 husky straps, 500-pound working load. So that should be a good amount if you wanna do some weighted dips or anything like that. So make sure you check the working load on there. But these are just lashing strap, and it's a 2-pack. So we're gonna get these out. So these are latching straps, meaning they're kind of like a ratchet strap, but they're just something that we're gonna pull right through. So they're probably the same thing if you have rings at the gym. Same thing that works. Pull it in to tighten it. It's got a little button to loosen it. And that's all it takes. So I'm gonna even these up a little bit here, and we're actually done. We've got our rings.
So these certainly aren't new. They're not, obviously, I mean, they're aesthetically okay. They're gray. They're not anything flashy, but again, they cost under $15 and they take probably under 15 to 20 minutes to make. And now you could, if you hung them from your ceiling, you could do some ring pull-ups. We can practice our muscle up transition. So I can come down from here. I can practice driving my hips up and shooting through and then pressing. So it's just gonna allow me to keep my muscle memory and do some really good stuff, some horizontal pulling, some dips and some pushing, and just stuff that maybe I have not been able to do or been able to practice since I didn't have a set of rings and we haven't been able to go to the gym. So we're super excited about these. I don't know, I feel like anything for under $15 is a total steal when it comes to fitness equipment. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I think making sure you do things safely, so when you preheat your oven, just make sure you soak your nylon rope so it's soaking wet when you feed it through the conduit pipe before you put it in the oven. Then when you're getting it out of the oven, just make sure you have on a pair of gloves so it doesn't burn your hands. But we hope you guys have really enjoyed this video, and we love the do-it-yourself stuff. If you guys have anything else you want to see do-it-yourself wise, please comment below and we'll try to bring you that video. Have a great day.